On Bettor Sports Network with Justin Fensterman.
I did have imaginary friends. They were fun. Having an imaginary friend actually helped make me the broadcaster I am.
And Adam Ronis.
Did you have an imaginary friend when you were a kid?
No, I had real friends.
Take it away, boys.
The playbook is live here on Bettor Sports Network. Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Fensterman, along with Adam Ronis for the next few hours. Let's talk some sports. Let's set some winning plays, set the scene, go over what everybody else is talking about in the sports world, too. What's up, Ron?
Chilling, man. Just getting ready for another night in the NBA. It was a pretty good night last night. I wish I had jumped in on the Clippers game. Not Clippers, Pelicans game and the Blazers. We had talked about some props and they all hit and I didn't play them. Ingram went over his prop. Lillard went over his prop. McCollum went over his prop. So kind of wish I jumped in that, but overall it was a pretty good night, even though we got not screwed, but the Marvin Bagley double-double. So close.
Oh, man, that was the one blemish I had, too. I mean, I went 3 for 4. You with that boost call, excellent by you. And then, I mean, some of the other bets that I was hitting last night, I mean, it was just great. It was a great night overall. I didn't go in on that game either, but you were considering the under at one point on the Lillard points. So I guess.
Yeah, but I could never do that. It's Dame. Yeah. I can't do it. But Ingram, I liked a lot because of the matchup, and he's just taking so many shots. He took 29 shots from the field. He dropped 40. McCollum, we talked about, I think his prop was 20.5. Even looked at the points and assists. He had 24.7 assists. And I told you I like the under on Simons. And what happened? He aggravated the ankle. I either knew that he was not 100% or there was a minutes limit, and I didn't bet it, but he had 4 points, 3 rebounds, and assist. I like the under on his PRAs.
Yeah, you did. And that's what happens. I mean, Kevin Durant, obviously, you can't go with that just because someone has a minutes restriction. You can't just automatically take the under. Kevin Durant went over his point prop. Kevin Durant looked good, by the way. Fit right in. What I do is because I watch a lot of tape, I watch a lot of basketball. Ronis watches a lot of basketball. I try to look to see if how he's moving on the court, especially game one after just maybe a few practices in which he was active for. I look to see how he's moving and if he's moving along with the rest of his team, because you learn a lot about the NBA by watching off the ball, who's setting screens and who's popping out. I thought Kevin Durant was moving great. The team seemed to really move around him, screen him right, but also he didn't really take away from Devin Booker either. And I think that's going to be a nice little 1-2 scoring punch for Phoenix the rest of the way. Yeah,
obviously they're going to be very dangerous, and they might take some time to acclimate, but this isn't going to be a Kyrie Luka situation. I think this team is going to perform very well. We know Durant can fit it anywhere. He's just that good. And let's see their schedule coming up. They've got at Chicago tomorrow, at Dallas on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern on ABC. So, wow, we already get a Durant-Kyrie? Oh, that's fun. Sunday at 1 o'clock. What the hell am I doing Sunday? Oh, I got the labor auction at 1 o'clock.
Oh, no, you want to trade? You'll do Saturday night, I'll do Sunday.
I'm at the draft. I'm in the draft.
Well, yeah, that's right. No soup for you. But you know what? It's not like it's going to be.
And I can't bet. I'm in Florida. It's not legal there.
Uh-oh.
So that means I'm going to have no bets on Saturday, Sunday, and then I come in Monday. You got to hold my flight's on time or I'm going to miss the show.
Well, thanks for telling us right now there, Road. It's good. You're giving us enough.
Yeah, we're having a production meeting right here.
We are. By the way, you mentioned the Chicago matchup coming up. Something to just monitor. I'd watch Durant's rebound prop for that. I just, again, with Chicago, they give up a ton of boards to power forwards. And I feel like with Durant, I mean, he's not always grabbing a ton of rebounds. So I feel like if you get a line at like 6.5, maybe, that's something to consider in this matchup. Just saying, Roan. With the 4 games we have tonight, I can't decide what the first play of the day is. However, we got to do our first play of the day. Yours is easy? All right, let's see. First play of the day. Coming up, Roan. If it's that easy, what is it?
Miles Turner over 19.5 points.
Okay, I probably should have looked that direction well.
He's gone over in 3 straight, 40, 24, and 24. He gets the Spurs. We know how bad they are against centers. There is a chance that Halliburton doesn't play.
Yep.
I don't think it matters, though. I think Turner's going to go crazy in this game. He's gone over in 7 of those last 10, 4 of his last 5. High game total. Spurs, 30th in points allowed. Terrible against centers. So, I don't whether Halliburton plays or he doesn't play, Miles Turner
won't matter. That's a good call right there. I like that. Nice fast-paced game tonight between these two teams. By the way, the Spurs going to be a little bit healthier tonight here. Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, they're going to be playing. They're going to be ready to go and everything. I wonder how restricted they're going to be. We'll have to wait and
Keldon
see.
Johnson's out, though.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. By the way, I see now Turner's already gone to 20.5 points. I got it at 19.5 at -120 on Bet365 a couple hours ago.
Would you still take the over 20.5?
Yeah, it's -105 on DK and BetMGM.
That's not bad. I'll take that. I mean, I'll be looking at that. Here's what I'm deciding between. I'm deciding between two PRAs tonight. Between Draymond Green, who last time out went over against the Clippers here, 23.5 PRA, and then Russell Westbrook over 28.5 PRA. You know how bad defensively the Warriors guards are. So I'm deciding between those. I might just bet them both tonight here. Who do you feel better about? Because we talked about this with Westbrook before. The points props have been right there on the line. So I want to try to attack this a little bit differently. You know he doesn't need a lot of minutes to grab boards, dish dimes. He's their main point guard. And then with Draymond Green, you know what he can do, especially on the glass. The scoring's been every other game in double figures. That's the one thing with him. So as I'm talking this out with you right now and also taking pace into consideration, I think I'm leaning more towards Russell Westbrook's over 28.5 points, rebounds, assists. What do you think of both plays?
I'm not going to play either. I have other plays I like. I guess Westbrook is – man, he's played below 30 minutes, though, in the two straight games, man.
I know, but at the same time, man, he's one of those guys, he's a volume producer. And I just feel that even in 25 to 28 minutes, he can still load up.
What if he has a poor shooting night?
Then that's going to be problematic there. That's
why don't you maybe look at – let me see. What is the assist solo? 7.5?
Let's see. The assist for him tonight is – let's look down. It is at 7.5.
Well, 7.5 and juice. Wow, 7.5 plus money.
Yep.
Plus 118 on FanDuel, plus 110 on DK. What about, let's see, rebounds and assists?
I was looking at that before. I wasn't that interested.
Really?
Well, I just thought that he should be able to get to the basket with ease tonight. That's the thing. I mean, we're talking about the Warriors here. They really don't defend well.
But they're better at home.
Yeah, that's true. But still, they just don't defend guards well. And Westbrook will be able to get to the basket tonight. That's going to be my first play. It's going to be Westbrook. I might bet Green too, but Westbrook is going to be my starting play for this evening. So we will talk about.
And so today is TNT. No sweat. Same game parlay Thursdays.
So
Mavericks, Sixers, Warriors, Clippers are the games. I think the Warriors Clippers is the better one, obviously. Well, actually, 229 Dallas, Philly, 231.5 Clippers Warriors. Or I can combine it. Put 2 legs from the Sixers Mavs game, 2 or 3 legs in the Clippers Warriors game, and do one parlay risk free.
Yeah,
I'll probably do that.
Probably smart to split it up a little bit.
Yeah.
How do you feel? I've been actually looking at the game props a little bit more as well, rather than player props. And I'm 2 for my last 2 here. One that I'm also considering is I'm thinking about either going with the Sixers tonight, but I need to know that Joel Embiid is going to be in.
Looks like he's playing.
All right. Sixers +3, I don't think is bad, man. I really don't. And also, Clippers -3.5. For some reason, I'm thinking that Los Angeles is going to win this game tonight. I know the Warriors play better at home. I just have this feeling. I feel a little bit better about Sixers +3, though. You taking a look at any of those at all?
No.
Embiid being in there should crush the Mavs front court.
I don't trust Dallas one bit as a favorite, right? You know, Dallas has been one of the worst teams against the spread this year. One of the worst. They are awful. They are awful against the spread. Let me find it. They are the worst team in the NBA against the spread this year. 22, 38, and 3, tied with Miami.
I mean, so then do you like the Sixers +3 then? Because
Philly is the 3rd best team against the spread this year. 35, 25, and 1.
I might have to do this, man.
What, getting Philly with the points?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't trust Dallas at all right now. They're 1-4 with Kyrie and Luka. I mean, I think they'll both have big games. Philly is on a back-to-back. but Embiid didn't play, so he'll be fresh. I don't know,
Exactly.
man. And how do you trust the Clippers as a road dog right now?
I just trust this team just
You
in
do?
general. Yeah,
They lost 3 in a row to
I
the
know. I just feel like with the Warriors tonight, I feel like they'll be able to hold them down a little bit. It's just a feeling that I have. I like the Sixers +3 better. Sixers, by the way, money line +130, also not bad. But I'm thinking that the Sixers with the points is where I'm going to be going for my game prop tonight. I don't force it or anything like that. But those were the two that were standing out to me. Pacers -6. I'm not trusting anyone in that one. I'm just not. Pacers -6. And Raptors Wizards, that one for a game prop, another one where I just don't know what direction to go. So that's going to be a bet that I'm going to place tonight. Philly +3 over the Mavs, -110, seeing it on DraftKings Sportsbook here. What's going on, Matt Deutsch? Matt Deutsch is watching us. The better boss, Roan. Don't say anything stupid, okay?
You're the one who has to refrain from saying stupid things. I mean, you've called our producers jerk-offs numerous times.
No, I haven't. Seriously, first of all, that's not true. And Matt knows that. Matt knows I'm very respectful. I've called other people jerk offs, though, but our producers and you just one time. And that was a collective thing, by the way, when you guys were ganging up on me.
We were not.
Okay.
We never do.
I felt ganged up on. Okay. I felt ganged up. I had to clap back a little bit. And you haven't forgotten about it, too. Must have made some kind of impact, man.
No, it didn't. I just state facts.
Just state facts. I plead the fifth right here. Roan, want to talk to you about end of season awards. One of the players trending today on Twitter throughout the afternoon, Jalen Brunson. We keep talking about this, man. Most improved player. What is the future going to hold for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? What about Lauri Markkanen, who's on a sinking Jazz ship right here? Jalen Brunson, we said we were going to take a look at the odds for this end of season award today because he was starting to gain a little bit of steam. People are starting to talk about the guy. And when you look at the most improved player odds, without looking, what do you think Brunson's at right now?
+350.
He is at +350.
Yeah, it was +400 yesterday, so I figured it would go up a little bit.
Yeah, and Gilgeous-Alexander also at +350 now. So, dude, Jalen Brunson had an absolutely outstanding game last night. The Knicks just all over the Nets. Jalen Brunson, throughout the season, has been carrying this Knicks team, keeping them around 500. Now the rest of the players are starting to catch up a little bit more and play a little bit better. But the way the Knicks shot last night, it was like they weren't missing any shots. They were shooting 60% from the field. Not used to seeing that with this team. And Brunson, he couldn't miss. He was hitting everything. He even got Tom Thibodeau to dap up with him after that. That was a great game, man. I mean, are we waiting too long now if we're not placing this bet on Brunson +350? Because he just is on fire.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure if he's going to win it. Markkanen obviously is still a favorite, but when you look at the NBA awards market right now, there's a lot of things that are already kind of decided. So if you're looking for one where you can get plus money, I think it's Brunson again, because they're talking about him a lot. The Knicks are getting the headlines now. They're playing great basketball. He was a big free agent signing, and he's made that team pretty relevant. Whereas Markkanen definitely has improved, but Utah might not make the playing game. Maybe that puts a damper on him. So that's the only reason why, as I still think there's a shot that Brunson could win this if he continues to play at this level.
Good odds right now, +350 on DraftKings if you want to get in on that. Bettor Thomas is asking us a little DFS question here, Roan, already getting things started with Doug McDermott or Anthony Lamb tonight for DFS. You got to rely. I mean, look, with no Keldon Johnson tonight, I mean, you would think that McBuckets will have to get in and fire a few more threes, wouldn't you think, naturally?
Yeah, I mean, they are getting Vassell and Trey Jones probably back, though, but I guess. I mean, I wouldn't want to go that low, but I guess spending up on stars.
Right. If you're going with the stars and scrubs approach, I'm looking at Anthony Lamb tonight. And the thing about Lamb is, look, I got to say this, he's getting the minutes. That's one thing that he has been getting. And he's been putting together a few interesting lines here And last time out against the Clippers, gave you a 5x return on DraftKings, but really nothing special. Nothing's really standing out. He's just doing a little bit of everything, but the stats and the numbers are all over the boards. I'd probably go McDermott tonight over Anthony Lamb. Still thinking McDermott because Keldon Johnson is out. Should be able to get 20 minutes tonight. So Bettor Thomas, that's where I'm going with between the two here. Anthony Lamb doesn't take a lot of shots. I mean, the rebounding has been very good for him lately. Outside of that, the stats have been a bit inconsistent. So that's why I'm going the other direction there, and I'm going to take him on. So we're going to go Doug McDermott there. And absolutely, 4-game slate. This is what you got to do. You got to dig and dig and dig. Other things that are trending, Roan, how about this here? And we've been doing a good job of not going after the story too much, but it's one that's just going to continue to circulate in the world of sports, and that's Aaron Rodgers and where he's going to end up. I mean, have you thought about where he's going to be playing next year? You're hearing Brandon Marshall saying he's been told 4 teams are interested. You're hearing teams like the Jets. You're hearing teams like even the Panthers. I saw something on Twitter a little bit before. Let's just talk about it from the broad strokes right now. You think Aaron Rodgers is back with the Packers next season?
It sounds like he will be. That's what you're starting to hear.
Because I know it's a major cap hit and everything like that, but still it's Aaron Rodgers, and with what he could do, he's not done yet. He doesn't look washed up. That's the thing about him. And I don't see it. I just don't see, even a team like the Jets, I just don't see him getting traded. I don't know if I feel the same way with what's going on with Lamar Jackson. I know there's a deadline regarding that. I see Aaron Rodgers still playing with the Packers next season. And AB making a good point too. I mean, the division, still winnable division there. AB.
Well, plus you want to stay. If you want to win, you want to stay in the NFC. It's more wide open. You go to the AFC, you're dealing with a lot of the top quarterbacks in the NFL.
That's a good point as well. That is a good point. So it seems like you and I are on the same page in thinking Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing for the Packers. I'm just kind of tired of going through this, but until he retires, it's going to be an every year thing with this guy. That's just how it is with these coveted quarterbacks. That's just what it becomes in sports stories for off-season football. You see the drama kind of going on with the Ravens right now with what they were saying here. I mean, the Ravens executive vice president making comments about how they haven't done a good job of hitting on wide receivers in the draft here. And of course, everybody that's hearing these comments, tweeting it out, Rashad Bateman going after everyone, being like, stop just trying to come after us and making all this friction. And that put the Lamar Jackson situation in. That's one where I'm not so sure if we're going to see Lamar still a Raven. You got any inkling on that one?
I mean, there's a lot of things publicly that this team needs to figure out. Keep it in-house, man. But
these guys are so stupid.
They are.
Why would they make that comment? They know that everybody's going to jump on it. And why make that comment isolating and freezing out your receivers like that? Like a baby.
And you never even throw to the wide receivers. So what do you expect?
Right. And that's what I'm seeing on Twitter too. And that's exactly the responses I'm seeing here. You got Mr. Run with Lamar Jackson, who's going to get love here. And it's just to make those comments, and these general managers and EVPs and team presidents, they haven't learned. This age, you can't say anything. It's not like it was in the 1990s and even the early 2000s, most of the 2000s, where it's just some guy, some reporter with a recorder, and that's it. You got to be careful with everything that you say. Everything will get widespread. People are trying to get clicks, and these player personnel, these guys just have not learned, some of them yet. Just shut the heck up. And you're right. Keep it in-house. It's just, I see this stuff and I just shake my head, man, because we're beyond a digital age. We're in everybody's business age, plus the digital age. You combine that, what do you get? No privacy. You got to keep things in the inner circle, and that's it. And for him to say that and disrespect receivers, and kudos to Bateman, doesn't seem, at least publicly, offended by it. It is his team. He doesn't want to cause any more drama. I get that. He doesn't want to be part of the drama and, lighting it up even further, creating a fire out of it. But I saw that today, and when you see Ravens flock hashtagging and you're wondering why, the first thing you think about is Lamar Jackson. But this is not something I saw, man. And you're right, this team's got to absolutely figure it out. And they're on a little bit of a timetable to do so, at least with Lamar Jackson. But to all of the general managers, to all of the team presidents, to all of the player personnel in sports who are tuning in to the playbook, because we've seen it, Ron. We've seen some of these coaches in leagues when we say, hey, this guy should be starting. Boom, what happens? They're listening to the playbook. They're watching the playbook. That's why to everybody who's involved with the sports team that makes any kind of public appearances, that does an interview, be careful what you say. Feed them nothing. Do it. And I know on the other side here, as someone who's a broadcaster, you want all the information. Feed them nothing. Don't blow up your team's chemistry. Don't isolate out players. And I saw that, and it's 2023. Enough of this BS already. You got to be careful what you say. Every word that you say is going to be broadcasted on social media. That's just the way it is. That's the age we live in. You want everything at your fingertips. That's the price we all pay because of it. We're getting you ready for the upcoming baseball season with the Bettor Baseball Preview, from fantasy baseball to MLB betting and the newest baseball cards for 2023. You can access our exclusive content for free right now at bettorsports.com, featuring some of the best baseball minds in the industry like Adam Ronis, Ray Flowers, Kyle Elfring, Cody Decker. Get player profiles, prop bets, and future sleepers and bust fantasy draft strategy, collectibles, and more at no cost. Please register with your name and email at bettorsports.com right now and get instant access plus notifications when new features are released. Go to bettorsports.com and sign up for the Bettor Baseball Preview. Rome, without giving too much away here, and feel free to give me a little misinformation like I'm trying to tell these execs to do so. So what exactly is your involvement with this, man? You just doing some profiles and all that?
Some player profiles, some sleepers, some busts. So there'll be videos.
Very nice. Well, you love making videos. We see that.
Oh, yes.
You make a lot of videos, my man.
Yeah.
And
I got my OnlyFans as well.
Yeah.
No,
Ooh, what's the handle, Ronis?
No, not yet. We're getting close on that.
If you want Adam Ronis to have an OnlyFans account, let us know in the comments section. He needs your support. So with that, seeing that you guys want it, Ronis is a people person. He'll give the people what they want. Ron, you see that I'm wearing a little bit of Ken Griffey Jr. costume style here. That's because it's time to preview the Seattle Mariners. Ron, you weren't a video game guy growing up, right?
So you don't pay attention at all.
Can you just answer the question?
No, because you don't pay attention.
I do pay attention.
Okay, so then what's the answer?
I pay attention, but tell us, man. Tell us.
He doesn't know. Adam, right? He doesn't know, right? You can tell he doesn't know.
I don't think he does.
I'm going to guess you had just regular Nintendo. That's it.
I had everything. I told you, I was into video games. I stopped playing right when I got to college. That's when I became an adult and serious about my career. And I just didn't have time to play video games anymore. So I did Atari, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1 and 2. And then PlayStation 2 was the last system I had. I just don't have time to play video games.
Well, what were your favorite video games? The baseball games?
Baseball, football, mostly sports, obviously.
You ever play Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball on Super Nintendo?
I think I did, yeah.
Excellent game. The only player that's actually featured in the game is Griffey. They do have the stats and everything for the other players. They couldn't use the names, though. Only Ken Griffey Jr. Definitely my favorite baseball game of all time. I was talking with Anthony Rivera, Adam Bernard before about this. They're producing the show. So, yeah, and no, Anthony, Ronis likes Xbox. I don't know about that. Almost a little too late, though. You did have the PS2. We talk about a lot of things, Ron. Sometimes I'm going to forget the little things we talk about here. And then you can just refresh our memory rather than busting my balls.
Oh,
You're going to bust my balls anyway, because that is what you do.
Exactly.
He's Ronis, the ball buster. I'm Justin Fensterman, the nice guy. This is the Playbook with Fensty and Ronis here on Bettor Sports Network.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Bettor Sports Network.
Let's talk a little NBA because I found it interesting yesterday with those that are now all of a sudden going to be critical of Nikola Jokic and what he's accomplishing this year for the Denver Nuggets. As Denver is the top seed in the Western Conference right now, they've won 44 games so far during the course of the NBA regular season, and Nikola Jokic is well on his way to being a three straight time NBA MVP in the regular season. He's been remarkable. He's averaging a triple-double, nearly 25 points per game, over 11 rebounds a game, and 10 assists per game. His remarkable accomplishments have really poo-pooed or knocked down the idea of voter fatigue, which was a huge part of the conversation coming into the NBA regular season, thinking that there have only been three men, Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Larry Bird, that have ever won 3 consecutive NBA regular seasons. Mind you, you could never give that to Nikola Jokic because think about the historical ramifications it would be in the NBA. LeBron's never done it. Michael's never done it. How could Nikola Jokic do it? And then you get this, and it's the case of the hot take world that we're in, or I need something to say, or let's think of a different angle to approach a topic. But the idea that Nikola Jokic is a stat padder is complete and utter nonsense. I mean, you've had one person after another come out saying Nikola Jokic is not looking at his stat line during the course of an NBA game. He's not focused in on whether or not where his rebounds are, where his assists are in any particular game. He's having an historic season. He's shooting nearly 64% from the floor. He is being economical in the way that he's going about his business offensively. He's distributing the basketball. He's also been a willing rebounder as well. Why be critical of something that we're watching, which is historic? We're seeing him do stuff that no other NBA player has ever been able to go out there and accomplish. So as we go and look at Jokic, and he is going to be the MVP. It's not going to be Joel Embiid with the Philadelphia 76ers. It's not going to be anybody else that you want to throw out there. As we watch the brilliance of the Denver Nuggets, and everyone looks at the Western Conference and wants to look at teams like the Phoenix Suns if Kevin Durant is healthy, or the Los Angeles Clippers, or the Sacramento Kings, or, you know, let's be honest, the very, very immature Memphis Grizzlies, and everybody wants to pick anybody else but the Denver Nuggets to come out of that West and get to themselves to the NBA Finals, even throwing the Golden State Warriors into the equation as the defending NBA champs. Well, I think we have to have a lot of respect for what Denver's been able to do this regular season and a healthy respect of going into the postseason. And I also think we have to have a respect of what Nikola Jokic is accomplishing as well, and not be critical just for the sake of being critical. That, to me, is utterly nonsense. For more content like this, check out Bettor Network at TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and also on YouTube.
Mays Hayes here. Play like Mays, I run like Hayes.
Preparations for the 2023 fantasy baseball season have begun, and the playbook is taking a daily look at each team's hitting.
Straight ball, I hit it very much. Curveball, that's all free.
And pitching.
Of course, if the umps are watching me close, I just rub a little jalapeno inside my nose, get it running.
You put snot on the ball.
Slicing drive. Now the extra bases is inside. Let the big man run. He's coming to second. This looks like a triple. It's going to be in there with a leadoff triple. Julio Rodriguez with his first big league triple.
The Seattle Mariners, the team today of what we're previewing here on Bettor Sports Network. Fancy and Ronas back with you here. This team plus 1,800 on DraftKings Sportsbook to win the World Series, plus 850 to win the AL, plus 310 to win the AL West. They're sitting there with a win total at 87.5, minus 115 on the over there, Roan. And we got to go and start with the player that you invented. I'm giving you the credit, man. You invented this guy. I'm telling everybody else out about that. If Ariel Cohen ever talks to me, boom, Adam Ronas invented Julio Rodriguez. I was sitting there last year at my draft, and this was a league I ended up finishing second in last year. And I'm looking at rankings on fantasyalarm.com, and I see Ronas's rankings, and I see other rankings, and I see Ronas's rankings again, and I see Julio Rodriguez way up the board before some of those other rankings. And with that, Julio Rodriguez comes through in a big, big way. Not arguable top 5 pick, but an arguable first overall. seeing some people take him first overall, as we've been interviewing many people saying that there isn't any consensus number one overall pick, man. But how much better, Roan, can it get for this guy than the destruction that he provided on the field last year?
I mean, it's possible it can get better. He's 22 years old. He did have some injuries last year that kind of slowed him down. He didn't run as much in the second half, but first full season in the big leagues, and to do what he did was amazing. 28 homers, 25 steals, hit 284. So if he can just maybe improve the strikeout rate a little bit, make a little bit more contact. But he's a special player, and it's easy to see. So I've taken him third overall in a league. He goes anywhere from 2 to 5, depending. But there's so much potential here. His sprint speed is really high. They talked about how they're going to let him run. He hits the ball really hard. It's just a different sound off his bat. I got to see him in person at Citi Field. So, I would take him in the top 5 without question.
Yep, again, 28 homers, 75 RBIs last year, and also 25 stolen bags. You move on to a new acquisition. This team, and a few of the teams lately, they haven't done too much that we've been previewing. This team made some additions here. Teoscar Hernandez, man, what was the reason why Toronto, why did they get rid of him in the offseason? That's kind of what I was wondering first, why they ended up trading this guy. I mean, 25 homers, 77 RBIs, few stolen bags there, 267 average. I mean, what are your expectations for him now that he's in Seattle?
I mean, the park is not ideal for his power, but I don't think it's going to matter for him. He's got the ability to steal bases if they let him run. His hard hit percentage was 53.3%. Hits the ball really hard. So I like him. He can get 10 stolen bases. He had 12 2 years ago. So with these rules, maybe he runs a little bit more. I think people will be concerned about the power, but I'm not. Even in this park, I think he can hit home runs. He's got that big time power. So I like him this year. I'm willing to take him.
The Mariners hit 230 last year, and they were joined by a couple of other teams that hit 230. Only 2 teams in the entire MLB hit for worse batting average as a team than this Mariners team here. I mean, I guess we should have talked about this at the top here, so we'll go back to just as a whole. I mean, with some of the odds that I just read, do you see this Mariners team being a contender by season's end?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they have a pretty solid squad, good pitching staff. I like the rotation. They have some good arms in the bullpen. Could see them, making a trade at the trade deadline as well. So I do see them as a contender.
Some of that pitching, by the way, includes, Luis Castillo, sub-3 ERA. Robbie Ray, who had a 3.70 ERA, but 212 strikeouts. Logan Gilbert, 13 wins, 174 strikeouts. You said it, man. Even George Kirby as well putting up a nice year. So based on where you're seeing them being drafted, and I can read you some numbers from now, the last 2 weeks of some of the high-stakes drafts, Castillo going at around the 61, 62 area. Robbie Ray going just outside the top 100. Kirby going shortly after him. Gilbert around that same round 2. Of those guys, which of the pitchers or which of these starting pitchers would you like to target? Obviously, it comes down to roster construction. But is there one that stands out that you would like to be targeting and having at least one share of?
Luis Castillo, and I already have multiple shares of him. I think going to Seattle really helped him. He changed his pitch mix last year. He's always had good ERAs. The problem that kind of kept him out of the elite was the whip, and pitching in Cincinnati didn't help him that much. He had a 1.08 whip last year, the best of his career since his rookie year. So strikeout rate went up, walk rate went down. And I just think in that park, it's really going to help him. So I think this could be the first season you see him get to 200 innings. He had a 2.69 ERA at home last year. That included some of the games in Cincinnati, but July 1.93 ERA, August 2.84, September, October 3.48. But he really adjusted very well going to Seattle. So I could see him taking a nice step up this year.
Now, Cal Raleigh hit for just 211 last year, but 27 home runs, and we're seeing him go as a top 12 catchers on some of these NFBC draft boards here. I mean, is this somebody, if you're willing to wait on catcher just a little bit and not go after some of the guys going inside the top 100? Obviously, Real Muto, Dalton Varsho, Will Smith, some of those guys. What about Cal Raleigh, who's going just a little outside, maybe a few rounds outside that top 100?
I'd rather not. I don't want to take that hit in batting average. It's nice power from a catcher, no question about it. He also is coming off thumb surgery. Sounds like he's going to be okay and should be good to go. But, that strikeout rate is pretty high at, almost 30%. He does walk, but, hit 211 last year. So I don't see how much higher the average is going to get. A lot of the projection systems call for anywhere between 210 and 220, and 220 batting average is just not what I want out of my catcher. So, yes, the power is nice, but I'd rather try and get one of the catchers above him. That's been my primary goal in drafts, is to get one of those catchers and then wait on the second one.
A couple of other new acquisitions for this team include Colton Wong, A.J. Pollock as well. Pollock hit 245 last year, 14 homers, and Colton Wong, 15 homers. He hit 251, also stole 17 bags. Either one of those players tickle your fancy at all?
No, I mean, Pollock, I think's going to platoon, so he's probably only going to be in there against lefties. He's going to hit towards the bottom of the order, and he's getting older. He's 35 now, doesn't run like he used to, so he's more of a guy in a daily format where you can make changes and put him in there against the lefties. Wong is okay. He might sit against some lefties as well, but he goes from a park in Milwaukee that was great for hitters to one that's not great in Seattle. Get you double-digit speed, double-digit bags, makes good contact. So he's okay. I mean, second base is kind of light, so if you really wait and he's there, he's okay.
Finally, I mean, looking at their bullpen situation, any dispute or whatever that who's going to be closing for this team. We've talked about a lot of teams going to be going with two players who are going to be getting some saves here. What about the Mariners?
Yeah, I don't know. People think to believe it's Paul Sewell, but I'm not sure. Andres Munoz has a phenomenal arm. Diego Castillo has closed before. Matt Brash is a guy who got hyped last year as a starter, and it didn't work out, but he could be lights out in the bullpen with that slider. He did have a lot of command issues last year. 14.9% walk rate, which is terrible, but he does have great stuff, throws 97 and got a ridiculous slider. So it's probably Sewell, but they mixed and matched last year. They might do the same thing again. So I really don't feel good about spending a mid-round pick on either of these guys, not knowing the exact situation.
No wonder why these closers are flying up these draft boards, man. It used to be maybe you could wait until like the 8th, 9th round before. Now, if you want one of the guys, you're spending pretty high draft capital for them now. That's just what it is, man. That's what fantasy baseball has become. And that's changed a lot of strategies over the years. I mean, you can go back even a decade ago, and there would be some that would just wait and wait and wait. Rome, you just can't do that anymore.
I mean, you could, but then you're going to be battling on the waivers all season long with everyone else and allocating a lot of your fab to it. So there's still people that don't want to pay for the early closers, but again, there's only a handful that we know have the job, and outside of injury will keep it. So that's why there's more of a premium on them now. We have a lot of teams that are going bullpen by committee and using multiple guys to close. And, if you do that, then you're going to have them in your lineup, and there'll be a week where they get no saves. So it's nice to get at least one stable closer early and then kind of figure it out the rest of the way and take some shots in the reserve rounds and then obviously work the waiver wire as well. But if you don't get one of those top ones, you're going to wind up taking like 3 guys and maybe none of them have the job.
I don't want that, man. I don't want to play that game. I don't. Let half the league of that we're going to be in, half the rest of the half of the league, let them battle it out there, man. I want security, or as much security as you could get with this position. And I feel like I'm going to be double dipping early when it comes to this closer spot, man. You just see it with where some of these closers are going. I want to address a comment that you made on the Cash It podcast that you host with Howard Bender, fantasyalarm.com, or wherever you get your podcasts, an award-winning Cash It podcast. And Roan, one of the things they said that you said actually that was featured in that podcast, and I talked about this with basketball too. I believe you were talking about it with baseball, aggressiveness on the waiver wire early. And yesterday I was talking to you about my frustrations in your fantasy basketball league on how my strategy since the beginning of my fantasy basketball career has been to kind of wait it out for at least 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a month, to see what exactly I'm dealing with, barring injury, for my team, what exactly I'm dealing with, the weakness. But something that I said yesterday, and then it seemed like you said on the podcast too, in fantasy baseball, it seems like you got to be aggressive early. Is that what you were referring to on the podcast from the clip?
Specifically saying there's a difference between playing in 12 and 15 team leagues. In 12 team leagues, there's going to be more on the waiver wire. So you got to be a little bit quicker to cut the back end of your roster. I mean, you should be churning the back end of your roster often. And I think we have a tendency, we spend months putting in research saying, I believe in these guys, these are my guys, but sometimes it's not going to happen. We're going to be wrong. And you'll see early in the year some telltale signs. Maybe it's not going to happen. It is a long season. You want to be patient, but there's also going to be players that come out of nowhere in the first couple of weeks of the season. And obviously the sooner you get them, if they do pan out, now you have them the entire season. So it makes sense to be aggressive early in the season, but especially in these 12-team leagues where there's more on the waiver wire. It's a little bit tougher to do in 15-team leagues because it's more thin on the waiver wire, but playing in the 12-team leagues, and I'm even talking like the NFBC, like online championships, 12 teams with 30 rounds, and that's still deeper than some home leagues. And there I've learned to really just cut guys at the back end of the roster. You can make a lot of pickups for $1, $2, $3, play the matchups every week. So I think it's important not to stay completely loyal to players that you believe in. You got to look at the landscape, and things change quickly.
And that includes keepers too, Rome. One of the things mistakes that I made in one of my leagues was I kept Jesse Winker last year. And just from the start, just wasn't looking good. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, maybe he'll turn it around. Maybe he'll turn it around. Different ballpark. I understand that. That was the first mistake that I made. Went to a completely different ballpark than where he was playing before, which was very forgiving for hitters in Cincinnati. But then with Jesse Winker, I waited too long with him, man. I just completely waited too long. Oh, you want to hear this, Anthony Rivera? You want to hear this stupid idiot move that I made? I cannot believe I did this. I still can't. Now you're reminding me with Jesse Winker Wolf. Here's a Jesse Winker Wolf. I threw back Alek Manoah last year. I had the opportunity to keep him and for like a 6th round pick or something. And I threw him back into the pool and kept Jesse Winker like a stupid idiot. And I was frustrated. That's right. I did do that. I don't know why I did that now. No clue why. It was a brain fart. It was just a stupid idiot move. Different ballpark. It all went right over my hairless head. And it was stupid. And maybe one of the worst things I've ever done, Roan, because immediately everybody in that league, all over Alek Manoah, again, this is a keeper league. He went in that league, he went in the 3rd round. And I knew I was in trouble. And I'd be sitting there with you, even on other shows, and I'd watch Alek Manoah throw good game after good game for a while there. And I was just sitting there being like, hands in my head, because now imagine if I had him. I mean, I pitching struggled a little bit. I could have probably gotten first place there. I just missed out. I was sitting there top 3 all season. Maybe the most boneheaded decision, Roan, I've ever made. I mean, have you ever made a fantasy baseball decision that boneheaded like I did?
Probably. Nothing comes to mind at the moment.
Man.
I'm sure you made a lot worse decisions than that. So don't beat yourself up for that one.
But it was I should have known. Different ballpark. That I just, again, right over my head as I nearly just whacked myself in the head. I deserved it. Thanks a lot, Anthony Rivera. Thanks a lot. You reminded me of this. Now I'm not in a good mood anymore. Okay, Anthony? Thank you for the encouragement right there. He's Adam Ronis. I'm Justin Fensteren. I don't know why. Just because of my love for Ken Griffey Jr. I'm not saying that the Mariners are my second team, but I would go to Yankee Stadium and boo the Yankees and root on Griffey. And my father reminds me of this, that we went, I believe it was 1997, and we rarely went to Yankee Stadium. We were Mets fans. We didn't want to go there, be with those fans, those cretins. So when Ken Griffey Jr. would show up, go every year or for a couple of years, he hit a long bomb one year. I believe it was in 1997. I get up there, I'm chanting and screaming, and he's pulling me down to try to sit down as well, getting a fight right there, Roan. That's dedication right there to the player. You're going to go to the Bronx and Yankee Stadium and root on a non-Yankee and Ken Griffey Jr. And you want to know what I remember, though, Roan? Because I've been at Yankee Stadium when other players have gone off as well, and the sea of boos. There weren't that many boos, man. A lot of cheers. And it just shows the impact that Ken Griffey Jr. had in this sport. I mean, would you say that Ken Griffey Jr., this might be a stretch, top 3 most likable baseball player of all time, Ken Griffey Jr.?
That's possible. I think most people like Ken Griffey. Yankee fans might not like him, though, because he said he didn't want to play there. So,
that wasn't until later on, though. He didn't say that.
He was already very high in my book. That just elevated him to even more.
That did when he said that in the MLB Network documentary. That was excellent. I love Ken Griffey Jr. so much. He kept his mouth shut. He just played the game. The backwards baseball cap. He didn't give a crap at all. It wasn't Mr. Armani suits. He was all about playing and just what he could do both in the field and at the plate. He just made the way he swung, the way he stood in the batter's box. You just loved watching baseball when he was on your screen. And that's why I loved it right at the end of his career when he was back with the Mariners. The problem is he fell asleep in the dugout one day and then realized he needed to retire. That's what prompted the retirement for Ken Griffey Jr. And Anthony Rivera making some comments here, producing our program. Griffey, almost a New York Met. The Mets were going to offer a lot. They did offer a lot for Ken Griffey Jr., but his heart was going to Cincinnati. It was actually our colleague at Fantasy Alarm, Jim Bowden, who acquired Ken Griffey Jr., hometown kid, Cincinnati, going to Cincinnati, where his dad was crushing it for them back in the 70s there. That's what their nicknames were, what? The Big Red Machine back in the 70s? That's right. Whenever I think Big Red Machine, I think Kane. That's got to be Kane. He's Ronis. I'm Fensty. It's the playbook. Let's talk some hockey with our other producer, AB Adam Bernard, as I put it in our show plan. Hockey with AB coming up on BSN.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
Welcome back. It's Rick Kamla, a.k.a. Ricky Props here on Bettor Sports Network, and let's go to the wood and make you some money. Bradley Beal at home against Toronto tonight, over 22.5 points, minus 115. Beal is rolling, 30-plus in 4 of his last 7. In February, he's averaging almost 27. Toronto allows the 10th most points to shooting guards. It's a very important game, and Beal is a rise-to-the-occasion player. We're staying on Beal a lot here. Again at home against Toronto, over 6.5 dimes. Plus 105. He's been over this number in 3 straight, 8-8-7. Toronto allows the most assists to shooting guards, the most. Kuzma and Porzingis are playing, meaning more dime opportunities and more shot makers to give him those dimes. And then I'm combo points and assists on Beal as well. Over 28.5, minus 125. I'm so high on Beal because of this matchup. Toronto just does not defend this position well. He's been over this combo number in 4 of the last 7. And we move on now to Jakob Poeltl. At Washington, the Toronto center. He's been balling since the trade deadline, over 11.5 points, minus 125. He's been over this number in 4 of the last 5. Washington allows the 10th most points to the center position. We're also on Poeltl's rebounds at 8.5, over, minus 115. He's been over this number in 4 of the last 5. And the Wizards are mediocre at keeping opposing centers off the glass. Jakob Poeltl at Washington, we're combining his points and rebounds here, over 20.5, minus 110. He's been over this number in 4 or 5. I like these 80% percentages, right? I feel good about these, and I love the matchup with Daniel Gafford. Remember the Ricky props rule. Play these about an hour and a half before tip. Even if a guy that's not in these gets hurt or decides to play, it may change the computations. So wait closer to tip to play these bets. Moving on to some best bets. Toronto -1 at Washington. Go with the whoa. I thought Washington would be like a -2, about a 3-point differential there. So I'm going to ride the hot hand with Toronto. Hit on them the other night. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. Toronto's playing better on the road. They've won 3 out of 4 away from home. Washington's a lousy home team. They're 14-13 at home, and they're 5-6 in their last 11. I'll go with Toronto. The Clippers, -3 at Golden State. Again, go with the whoa. This felt a little nutty to me, but let's go lean in that Clipper direction because of that. They're going to be highly motivated. They've lost 3 in a row in 5 of the last 7. GSW is dominant at home, no doubt, but the Clips are good on the road at 18-16, and the Clippers are going to have more firepower than Golden State, who's going to be playing without Curry and without Andrew Wiggins. A couple of waiver wire pickups for you. Matisse Thybulle, Blazers forward. He's starting over Reddish, okay, with Simons back last night. That's very important. Thybulle's going to be the guy that gets the most consistent minutes. Over the last week, fantasy gold galore. 1.8 blocks, 1.5 steals, and 2.5 threes. And then Talen Horton-Tucker, guard for the Jazz. He's their starting point guard, and he's giving you the goodies as well. Last week, it's 2 blocks, 1 steal, and almost 2 threes per game. Get interactive with us, folks, at Bettor Network on Twitter. And for more college basketball betting advice and NBA betting advice, go to bettorsports.com and Bettor Sports Network app. And you can find more content at Bettor Network on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Trivia time for Adam Ronis here on Bettor Sports Network. Ron, you're hearing this old school team here. What game is this from? What video game is this from?
I'm not sure.
NHL 94. Often referred to as the most popular hockey game to ever play. Let me know, by the way, in the comment section. I was telling our guys before, Adam Bernard and Anthony Rivera, Stanley Cup. I was a Stanley Cup guy on Super Nintendo. I played NHL 94 and all those other games in the following years as well. But Stanley Cup, who played Stanley Cup? And who turned off icing so that you can take a slap shot, have it go off the wall, ricochet off the wall. The goalie would start to go around the crease, thinking that the goalie would be able to get it. Boom, open net, in. A little bit of a nice little cheat code from the game Stanley Cup on Super Nintendo, the best video game system ever. That's right. I said it. Fight me on it. You can't fight me on it. The games that they had, excellent. Better graphics, 16-bit. Better graphics than the NES. I know everybody with the NES, oh man, cutting edge there. It changed the game. Super Nintendo was that much better than Nintendo. That's why it's super. I digress though, Rome, because we're about to hit up an NHL trade deadline, and it has been very, very active. And our man on the scene who's going to be talking about tonight's action and also what's going on around hockey is Adam Bernard. What's going on, AB? You a big NHL 94 guy.
I was more an NHL 95 guy because that was the year that they based it off the year the Rangers won the cup. So, you know, when you started a video game, the 2 teams that popped up on the screen were always the championship participants from the previous year. So that's why I like 95 better than 94. It's my Rangers championship year.
You want to hear something stupid? I nearly texted you and was like, bro, Todd Bertuzzi, that jerk off, is still in the league with that cheap shot, maybe the most infamous cheap shot in hockey or one of them. And then I'm like, oh, Tyler Bertuzzi for a second, because I mean, you still got guys like Yager who are playing somewhere in the world. So I thought for a second that the 48-year-old Todd Bertuzzi was playing, but no, it was Tyler Bertuzzi that was actually traded.
I mean, Jaromir Jagr is a freak of nature, so he's a bad guy to compare because I mean, he's probably more physically fit than half the NHL, even though he's probably about 15 to 20 years older than half the league. So, and he does all right as a older single man. It's kind of like Ronis' spirit animal there a little bit.
Nice. So. See, I didn't even realize he was single. He was never married beforehand.
There was like some time a few years ago where like some woman slept with him and she like threatened to like tweet the photo out, and he's like, "Go ahead and tweet it. I don't care."
I do the same thing. Like, go ahead.
He's like, "What are you going to blackmail me with? Go
Yeah.
ahead, put it out." Like he was passed out in the photo. Like he didn't care.
That's great. Look at that. Getting great information here from Adam Bernard, the resource, our producer. So, AB, you're on the clock here for some hockey picks. What are you thinking for tonight's slate?
So I got a few different things I'm looking at tonight. First, let's start with
The Rangers.
So to me that I don't really like a lot there. To me, that's more of a stay away game. You could look at the over at 6.5. I do feel like that's a trap. Ottawa's averaged almost 6 goals per game in their last 3 straight wins. But the Rangers are on a back-to-back tonight. I know it's the debut of Patrick Kane. I know that can be a spark to the lineup, but I don't know. This just feels one of those games where like it looks like an over, so I would lean under. But Ottawa's been on fire lately. It will be interesting to see how the Rangers look with Kane in the lineup now.
So what do you like tonight as I try to get you to like the Rangers and you said you don't?
Yeah, sorry. So we got it. Toronto, Calgary. I like the over at 6.5. It was minus 115 earlier today. Now minus 120 at Caesars. Toronto has allowed 3.5 goals per game in their last 4 on the road. They're going with their backup tonight, who is a guy I barely heard of. Also, the Leafs have won 5 of 6 before the loss to the Oilers and an average 4 goals per game in that stretch. Flames in the 11 of the last 15 have totaled at least 7 goals in games they've been in, and they give up 3.5 goals per game. So that one would be one I like. Another one I like is the under Minnesota Vancouver minus 108 at FanDuel at under 6. The Wild are one of those teams you have to look at the under each night since the games they're involved in have only hit the over twice in their last 15 outings. Canucks are not a good team, and Minnesota should clamp down on them well. So those are 2 totals I like to look at tonight.
Adam Bernard here. He's our producer, does a great job here at BSN, loves his hockey as well. That's why we bring him on to talk a little hockey. So, AB, looking at all these trades that were made, which of the teams thus far have won the trade deadline?
I mean, you almost have to look at, Boston with the rich getting richer. And yeah, it's not a trade, but the fact that they were able to sign David Pastrnak to an 8-year, $90 million contract extension is huge news. He's 26. He's, just to give an idea of how good he is, he's probably going to finish behind Connor McDavid in the MVP race. McDavid currently minus 2,000, Pastrnak at plus 2,000. He's got 42 goals on the season. You mentioned the addition of Tyler Bertuzzi earlier. That's off the heels of Taylor Hall being put on long-term IR. So Boston, they're going for it. They're still plus 250 to win the East and plus 420 to go win the Cup. And the Pastrnak contract ensures that this is not a team that's going for it this year and then probably not going to be good next year. They are going to be back in the mix and continue to be in the mix for a while. So that, to me, is one of the biggest stories of today with the deadline coming up tomorrow and one of the bigger winners there.
How are the Rangers and Devils affected by the trade deadline? Both teams playing well, both teams making moves. Who wound up making the better moves?
So here's and everybody's super excited about the moves the Rangers made, and I get it. It's Patrick Kane, but this is not 2013 Patrick Kane. And one of their biggest problems is defense. And yeah, they did address that a little bit in the Tarasenko trade. They got the other defenseman, Mikola from St. Louis. So I think the Rangers are going to be a very exciting team, but you don't win in the playoffs 5-3 and 6-4. You have to be able to clamp down. So if they're able, the defense can get going, if Shesterkin can play a little bit better, then maybe that's not as big a deal. As for the Devils, they got probably the biggest fish out there in Timo Meier. Now, whether he gets extended or not is a whole other story, and that would be great if they did. The Devils are built very well from top to bottom. The People's Board op, Jared Moore, knows certainly a lot about them.
He still works there?
Yes, he does,
Okay.
believe it or not. But the Devils, they're currently sitting at plus 175 to win the division. The Rangers are weird right now because they're plus 1,200 at Caesars, while FanDuel has them at plus 2,400 and BetMGM has them at plus 2,500. So maybe they're thinking more along that defensive point I made. Carolina is still the top team in the division at minus 220. They added Shane Gostisbehere today, gives them some puck movement on the back end, the guy that could fill in on the power play if needed. I still think this is Carolina's division to lose, and then the Rangers and Devils are playing for the right to lose to them in the second round. That's what I think.
So the way it's set up, the Rangers and Devils are going to play in the first round, right? Unless the Devils win the division?
So yeah, the way it works is the first 2 rounds go by division. So the top 2 division winners go 1-2. Then they get the 2 wild cards, 7 and 8, and then within your own division, 2 and 3 play each other, and it's kind of like a bracket. So the Rangers and the Devils right now, if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, or if you look at the
Devils are second, Rangers are third.
Now, Devils are only 1 point behind Carolina, so that's still up for grabs.
So what would be? I mean, I know they're both difficult matchups, but if as a Rangers fan, who would you prefer to see first, Carolina or the Devils?
I say the Devils just because Carolina's got a team with experience. They've been down, they were one of the favorites coming into the season. New Jersey kind of came, not to say out of nowhere, but they definitely jumped the standings probably a season or 2 earlier than people thought. So
their road record's insane.
And Jack Hughes is having a fantastic year. He was
shots on goal prop over. I know that about hockey.
So it's, down the stretch, it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. I still think Carolina's won, but yeah, I mean, if I'm the Rangers, I'd rather the Devils, but that's not really.
They got a tough draw.
And that's the thing. I mean, but if you look at the other divisions too, like you look at the Atlantic, Boston is clearly the number 1 team. Toronto and Tampa 2-3. That's going to be a dogfight, and then whoever survives that is going to give Boston a tough time in the second round. So the East is a real bare knuckle brawl, while the West is very wide open right now.
Damn. So the Rangers potentially would have to go through New Jersey, Carolina, and Boston just to get to the Cup.
And if it's not Boston in that third spot, you're looking at Toronto or Tampa.
So basically, the Rangers are screwed, is what you're telling me.
I'm not saying they're screwed. I just think they're going to be an exciting team to watch down the stretch. I'm wearing a "Long Live the King" Henrik Lundqvist T-shirt right now as I say this. So, but I think expectations with the Rangers need to be tempered just a little bit now. If they get hot and go on a run, if Shesterkin can get back to the way he played last year, it's a different ball game. But until those things happen, let's see how they look tonight with Kane on the ice in the debut and go from there.
The show Survivor began, the next season 44 began last night. Tom Laidlaw.
Cheers.
Remember, there's a reason you cut me off. I was going to tell you, Tom Laidlaw was on Survivor a few seasons ago. Were you a Tom Laidlaw guy?
I mean, he was a little before my time, but he was, he played on the Capitals, he played on the Rangers. I think he was on it previously, and then he came back again, didn't he? Tom Laidlaw on Survivor.
I thought he was just on one season. I could be wrong about that, though.
No, I mean, yeah, he's, he was a pretty solid, bottom pairing defenseman in his day.
So I know Fensty he claims very little free time, but yet you're watching Survivor.
What's your problem? Why can't
I liked Survivor the first 2 seasons, and then I realized it's just the same damn show in a different backdrop every year.
But that's what it's
supposed
to be.
hasn't figured it out.
That's what it's supposed to be. It's like,
yeah, that's right. I forgot. You like watching the same thing over and over and over and over.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's why you've been married 20 years.
Watching game shows.
That's why you've been married 20 years. You like the same thing over
I'm married 20 years because look at me. I'm good looking and I'm a nice guy. All right. Right?
So wait. What is that? No, that doesn't. If that's the case, you don't get married.
No, well, that's the thing. I'm also a very nice guy too. That's the other thing. I'm the complete package. That's why, Roan.
Really?
Come on. I was a second-round pick in PPR. You don't believe me, do you?
No, I don't.
No, okay. You can stop picking your nose, by the way.
I'm not. I'm just trying to prevent myself from
the booger goes flying to the side of you. All right, let's bring on James Grande, okay? James Grande, also another
guy in the industry.
Good-looking, nice guy.
Another guy in the industry married early. You guys never learn, man. I wish I could have taken you guys under my wing.
I know. I'm sorry. We're happy. All right. I'm sorry that James and I are very happy right now. We're very happy.
I don't know. You've been pretty angry lately. You've been very upset.
No, just that you are trying to pick at me for no reason whatsoever.
Look how easy it is. Look at you. You're getting rattled.
No reason. Yeah,
James,
I am.
James.
I'm not getting rattled.
Look how rattled he is, right, James?
I'm getting pissed off. James, how ridiculous is Adam Ronis? Aren't I such a good friend to you? And Ronis, he doesn't care, James. He doesn't care.
You are a good friend, Fensty. But you,
oh my
also,
God, did you see the way he said that? That was like so listless and uninspired.
Well, I was also going to say you do also seem rattled. So like you are a good guy, but you also seem rattled at the same time.
Yeah, it's easy to get under his skin. It's so much fun.
Yes. I could play the game too. I tried to play the game at least a little bit. Yes, I can.
Stick to your happy married life, just like James. James, you're happily married, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Well, you're newly. You haven't been married long, right? What is it, a year, 2 years?
No, September of last year. So
He's a rookie.
Oh yeah. It's still. But how long have you been together?
To almost 10 years. Going on 10 years this year.
How old are you, bro?
I'm 30.
Oh my God, you've been together since 20?
Yeah.
That's what I got with my wife.
Wow, you guys have not lived a life, man.
No, we just found max contract partners. That's what it is.
Nah, man,
you haven't found that yet.
Listen.
I just can't fathom meeting someone at 20 and staying with them. And is she around? Can she hear?
No.
Did you ever cheat on her?
No. But like Derek Jeter, think about Derek Jeter's long-term contract with the Yankees. Like, look how happily married he was.
Yeah, because he was with a bunch of different women throughout it. That's why. Come on.
I was only talking about the team and the player, Ronas. Nothing, the marriage between the two.
Damn, man. That just boggles my mind that you met someone at 20, stayed with her 9-10 years, married her. Like, that's just
because Ron, you know why? Maybe some of your friends aren't happily married. But
no, it's not even my friends. It's society, bro. The divorce rate is sky high. And that number is so misleading because there's a lot of people who are separated, not together, but technically they're not divorced. So that doesn't include in the numbers.
Oh, I guess you're right about that.
I am right about that, bro.
Right
Don't mess with me
That's
when
correct.
it comes to this.
No,
you know what I'm talking about.
No, you don't. You're
Yes,
single.
I do.
Okay.
So what does that have to do? Okay, so you never played basketball. Why are you able to talk about basketball?
I did
Same
play
thing.
basketball. I played basketball.
Then what for JV? You had to go to the bowling team because you
basketball.
sucked.
Okay, you're wrong. You said I did
not
play
wrong.
basketball.
You're
You are
saying,
wrong.
James, listen, he's saying I can't comment on marriage because I'm not married. So what gives him the right to analyze basketball if he never played at the pro level? Isn't a similar comparison?
Nope.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I don't think it's the same comparison.
It's similar. It's a parallel comparison.
I mean, I think anyone can comment on anything that they.
Okay, fine.
You can formulate an opinion on whatever you want to formulate an opinion on. Just be educated about it.
Okay.
Yeah, Ron. I mean, look, you got two.
Hey, look, if you guys are
married
happy, all for you. I just putting myself and going back, I could never fathom that, man. Just
going back a long time ago, right, Ron?
You got that right. 8,500 years right there. 85
Nah,
BC.
man.
That's when he was born.
Nah, that's not true, man. But
all right,
it just
Friday.
boggles my mind, man. That's crazy.
You know what boggles my mind?
What?
Who we're going to put in our lineups tonight for basketball.
Why are you trying to change the subject?
Hey, do you want to continue talking about this or not? We can continue. I think
James probably doesn't, right?
I mean, whatever you guys want to talk is your show, Like,
Wait,
right, it's our show. You come on here, whatever we ask you, you answer.
All right,
that's how it goes.
question.
You have no say in this, James. None. Which is
One
why
more
you try
question.
and duck out of this show all the time. And you come on once a month.
I was on last week.
2 weeks in a row. So when we
Let's go.
Again, what are you gone till November after this?
Let's go.
Wait, I got it. Seriously, guys.
Yeah.
I actually have a very important question, Ronas, to ask you. It's very important. It's serious here. Would you send your girls gift baskets?
No, why? No, why are we doing a gift basket?
Okay, I just had to ask. I mean, Derek Jeter did it. So
Well, they say that's not true.
he sent them gift baskets.
No,
okay?
I think that's been false.
Okay,
Has that been proven that it's false? Because that's been floating around for quite a while now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things float around that are not true.
Sure.
Very true. Well, James, what's floating around in your mind tonight when it comes to DFS NBA? We got this 4-game slate coming up here. So I got to ask you, when it comes to this Clippers-Warriors game, how exactly are you attacking it here? I mean, is someone again, we only have the 4 games. Is someone like Russell Westbrook in your game plan? Because just to bring in a betting angle a little bit here, I'm actually looking at his PRAs tonight and thinking that he's going to be able to fill up the stat sheet even if he plays fewer than 30 minutes. I don't want to fully rely on the points with him. They've been sitting at the props at least at 15.5. But you know that he fills up that stat sheet, and they brought him to LA for a reason, and he's a good complement to a lot of the other shooters on that team because all he needs to do is drive and dish or attack the rim with force. Is he part of the James Grande DFS NBA game plan tonight?
Yeah, I actually like Russell Westbrook quite a bit. And obviously, I think not just me, I think everyone was trying to figure out how he was going to be used in Los Angeles. I mean, let's date back to the beginning of the year. The Clippers were the favorites, or 1A, 1B with Boston to win the NBA championship. So, getting a high caliber player like Westbrook, who obviously needed to change the scenery, was interesting. I love the price, first and foremost, $7K on DraftKings. I love the pace up spot for the Clippers. Golden State number 1 in pace. Clippers are in the 20s, like huge pace up spot. And Westbrook has looked good. The question is, the last 2 games he doesn't close, right? It's like, will Russell Westbrook be on the floor in the fourth quarter? It hasn't mattered at this point. He played the 39 minutes in that crazy double overtime game, but then, and he got us there 44 fantasy points. The last 2 games, 38 and 40. We just need him to play more minutes. And I think if Marcus Morris is out, I think that helps his case, because they could elect to go to a smaller lineup. They could use Kawhi at the 4 a little bit more. We know Golden State can also do the same. So, like, there's a chance Russ Westbrook is low owned, at least considering it's only a 4-game slate. I love Russell Westbrook, and I love the Clippers as a whole in general. I love Kawhi. I love Paul George. Obviously, things get more interesting if Ivica Zubac sits as well. Was a midday downgrade to questionable. That would put Mason Plumlee in the middle of, probably everyone's lineup. The Clippers become extremely interesting. Golden State too. I mean, Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson finally priced appropriately. I think they were a little too expensive over the last week. Love Jordan Poole in tournaments. I don't think a lot of people get there. Love Klay Thompson in tournaments. We know how back he looks. Honestly, Klay looks pretty good. Prior to injury, Klay currently. And Draymond Green and Dante DiVincenzo are 2 of the safer plays on the slate. DiVincenzo getting all the minutes with Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins out, and Draymond's just kind of been good everywhere, including scoring the basketball. Excluding the Washington game, which he left. 30 plus fantasy points in 4 or 5. So a lot to like in this game. Not the best game on the board, but I think it's the contrarian top game on the board to Indiana, San Antonio, which is garnering all the attention and ownership and all the attention across the whole industry.
All right, who are you paying up for now? I mean, you mentioned George and Leonard, but are you paying up for an Embiid or Luka, or trying to look more balanced tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to continuously pay up for Embiid. I think last week when I came on, I believe it was the Memphis game. And I just, again, I think this second half of the season for Embiid is all about his legacy. And I think that will continue into the postseason. And I think Philly does still have an outside chance at a top seed in the Eastern Conference if they finish very, very hot, and Milwaukee, who doesn't look like they're going to falter, but you never know, and Boston potentially falters. I mean, this is a great spot for Embiid to continue his domination across the league. He had a tough spot in Miami the other night, move on. He's been tremendous on both ends of the floor since the break. I mean, we've had 10 blocks in 3 games since the All-Star break. I don't feel like getting to Luka at 11-9 is a bad idea. John and Pemba and I had this debate on the podcast where John doesn't think Luka has 70-point upside anymore. And I do. I mean, it's Luka, right? At any point, he gives us the 30-point triple-double. Even with Kyrie there, I still think it's viable. But 11-9, I could save $1,100 and just use Joel Embiid. So outside of Kawhi, who I think is as elite as it comes, outside of Halliburton, who, we still don't have an official status on him, he would be up there too. Joel Embiid is my favorite play of the slate, and by a considerable margin.
Talking with James Grande from fantasyalarm.com. Give him a follow on Twitter at @the_real_Grande. By the way, James, we had our buddy Ray Kuhn on the other day, and he's followed your path with the underscores in your Twitter handle. So he is challenging you for the king of the underscore title, but don't tell Ray this. You still have the title, at least in my opinion.
There's no challenge.
Wow. Fighting words from
No offense to Ray. No offense to Ray. I'm just saying,
he is the king of the underscore. That's right.
There's my crown that I'm.
His invisible crown there. Well, what about Bradley Beal? He's going to be wearing a crown tonight at all after a top performance, or what are you expecting with an active Kristaps Porzingis?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to, right? Like, Beal has looked good and playing like the highest paid player in the NBA, but a healthy team, sans Monty Morris, and now his price is back to 8K. We've talked about it on the podcast a lot. Like under 8K, it's been a great price tag. 8K and above, like it's decent. I don't love the spot against Toronto. Toronto is a very slow-paced team. They have a lot of good wing defenders. So like you can get there, and nobody in Washington is going to be owned tonight at all. All the ownership is going to go towards Indiana, San Antonio. All the ownership is going to go towards Embiid and Philly. Honestly, they're very cheap, and everyone's going to probably use guys in Clippers, Golden State. This game is going to be the contrarian game of the slate. I just don't think it's going to – I think there's a reason for that. I don't think it's going to live up to the hype. So, like, Beal's fine. I'm okay getting to Bradley Beal. I'm okay getting to Porzingis. It's just not, like, a priority for me.
How about Miles Turner tonight? It's a great matchup for him.
Yeah, so Miles Turner is projected to be the highest owned player of the slate. And, you know, I like it. There's nothing I don't like about the spot. The Spurs are dead last in defensive rating. They play fast. They're injured. They're using Zach Collins and Charles Bassey as their starter and back center. The problem with Miles Turner is he can get in foul trouble. We know. And again, like sometimes on 4-game slates, you're looking for leverage, right? $7,400 Miles Turner doesn't really provide us with much leverage in the DFS world, especially if he's going to be the highest owned player of the slate. Like it's hard to it's hard to fade him in cash. So like in cash games, I'd plug Miles Turner in and move on. But if you're playing tournaments, like I'm perfectly fine fading him. Now I understand like Indiana, you could probably use 9 players on this team tonight, Miles Turner included. And we'll obviously find out how good everyone is depending on the status of Halliburton. Halliburton's played through a lot of his injuries this year. I'm under the assumption he plays, but that's obviously remains to be seen. But yeah, Turner, great in cash games. It's a lock and load play. But if you're looking for leverage in tournaments, I'm perfectly fine, going somewhere else at center.
Well, you know what? I just need him to cash my over 19.5 points prop, okay?
Yeah, look, I think he's a great play. I mean, like, that's not me saying I think he's a bad
Don't
play.
let Ronas bully you, Grande.
I'm not letting – well, I never said he was a bad play. So it's not me letting anyone bully me ever. But I'm just saying, like, in tournaments, he could – I hope he scores 20 points for you. But I'm fading him in tournaments. So I hope he scores – I hope he gets you 20 and he gets in foul trouble immediately because I'm actually using his backup in DFS. And it's extremely risky. Because it's Rick Carlisle, and Rick Carlisle's a mad scientist, and we don't know what he's cooking up in the lab every night with his potions on who he's going to play and who he's not going to play. But Jalen Smith has been the backup for 2 straight games, and he's been really, really good on a fantasy point per minute basis. So I'm looking at the stars, hoping Miles Turner may get in some foul trouble tonight and have some leverage. But hopefully you also get your 19.5. Best of both worlds. Best of both worlds.
All right, I better. If not, coming after you.
Okay.
No accountability for this guy, Grande. He's got to blame
everybody. He's trying to put bad juju out there for Miles Turner.
He's not. He's being honest with you, Ron.
No, I don't want honesty.
Look, I'm
not this time.
Look, you're so. You can't win with this guy, Fensty.
That's right.
You don't pay me enough to host with this
Did it
guy.
take you this long to figure out?
You cannot win with this
exactly.
guy.
No, you can't. I can't. I was telling Bernard that before.
Finally,
I cannot
James.
win with this co-host, James.
You can't. I'm glad you guys figured that out. Well,
yes,
James, it took a while. Fensty's known.
Yeah.
I guess James just came to that realization. He doesn't work with me as much, so.
No.
I mean, because I come on like every couple months. I don't.
Right,
I
know.
Don't get that. I don't get the exposure.
Yeah, you duck us like you're
right.
You're too important for us or something. It's all right.
Yeah,
we'll remember it. When we blow when this show is like really big and blows up on a national level, like even on a grander scale than it is now, and you're going to be begging to come on our show, and we're going to be like, "Who this?"
You know what, Ron? We actually did get an email from someone last night begging to come on our show. Actually,
oh, that's right. Did you reply?
No, I didn't reply.
Okay,
of course not. Come on.
I'm going to reply then. You don't want to have him on?
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay. No, let's have a production meeting now.
All right.
We'll ask James too.
Well, listen, James has to set his DFS lineup, so he's probably sitting here being like, "Guys, let me go here."
There is a 7:00 game.
Let me ask you this, James, very quickly here. A couple of questions regarding the Spurs. Number one, Jeremy Sohan. I mean, one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. It's not just because of the cool hairstyles that I'm jealous of.
Yeah, he has a fetish for that hair. That's why.
You do love his hair. You've talked to me about this off camera too. Like you love his hair.
No, it's true. Actually. but for DFS
some
tonight,
people have a foot fetish. He has a hair fetish.
Look at this guy. That takes it to that level every single time. His own little fantasy world. So Jeremy,
this is a fantasy show.
True, touche. Jeremy Sohan. I'll say this for the third time. Jeremy Sohan. What do you think of him tonight, James? I mean, it's a good matchup for him. What the Pacers rank in the bottom 4 against power forwards, and even with some of the other players coming back tonight, you don't have Keldon Johnson in there. So if we are looking for some value, you've got him, and then. What about Doug McDermott here? Because we got a question before regarding a bottom of the barrel play between Doug McDermott and Anthony Lamb.
So to the first part, I love Sohan tonight over a fantasy point per minute this year when Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl, and Josh Richardson both have been traded are off the floor. But, 3 key components to their team all year long. We also have to, assume Devin Vassell, who is back, is going to be limited. He hasn't played in 2 months to the day. So, earlier in the year when he was injured, he returned and came off the bench, was limited. So assume Vassell's limited. We don't know what Trey Jones is going to be, but he hasn't played in a month. Assume he's on a limit, right? There's a lot to like about Sohan continuing his ascend offensively. The coming out of the break or before the break, we got the 30 minutes that he was playing before his own absence. Coming out of the All-Star break, 32 minutes in the first game. Last game, 28. There was a little foul trouble, but the offense Sohan has brought to the table lately has been very impressive. So I think he's also in one of those spots where he's kind of a must play in cash. The McDermott thing, I'm a little indifferent about. I could see a scenario where he's just fully out of the rotation sooner than later, just given where the Spurs are. I mean, they're on their Victor Wembanyama-a-thon right now, right? They don't really want to play their veterans. We've been seeing random guys get more run. They traded for Devontae Graham. They've been giving Blake Wesley more run. They've been giving Malachi Branham more run. And honestly, I kind of like Anthony Lamb in that he's been playing a lot of minutes with the absences the Warriors have. 28 minutes the last game. He can spread the floor. I like that game environment too. I would actually favor Lamb than McDermott. I do think that there's a better case to be made for McDermott if Branham has ended up being ruled out. We don't have official status on him. But yeah, I think both are viable punt options. I also don't know if we need to go either of those directions. I feel like there's enough value in this game to just avoid that completely. But I mean, on a 4-game slate, I understand trying to be different and getting exposure to the best game on the best game environment on the board with Doug McDermott.
Ron, any other personal questions you want to ask James about before we let him go?
Yeah, a lot actually, but I know he's got to set his lineup. But any other value plays you like for tonight?
Let's see. Any value? I mean, Philly is very cheap, right? Tobias Harris, 5,200. I know Embiid's back. It feels too cheap. Dallas has been a bottom 10 defense since since February 1st, I believe. Bottom 10 defense. Tyrese Maxey, I mean, 4,900. I understand Embiid's back, but 2 games prior against Miami, 23 actual points. I like both those guys quite a bit. DeLon Wright is projected to be pretty popular. He's going to start for Monty Morris. Wasn't great last time out, just 20 fantasy points at 4,500. But you love to see the 31 minutes. That was the first time he's cracked 30 minutes in a start. Second time, actually. Second time all year he's played 30 minutes. So, good to see Wright's minutes up there. But the rest of the value is in Indiana and San Antonio. Jordan Nwora was the first man off the bench for Indiana last game. He's carving out a nice role, 20 and 29 minutes the last 2 games. Obviously, if Halliburton's ruled out, TJ McConnell becomes the best play of the slate. I would have no problems getting to McConnell in every lineup I played at 3,600. Andrew Nembhard, same regard, 3,600. Ben Mathurin, someone, we've been high on for a long time, $4,800. He's a good value. So Indiana, San Antonio, and then Charles Bassey on the flip side. I mean, he's been elite as a backup center in terms of fantasy production. 21, 15, 19 minutes last 3 games. 2 of those 3, he's been gone for 28 fantasy points. And we know Zach Collins is, has the ability to pick up 2 fouls in under 30 seconds. So we could see Charles Bassey quite early tonight against Miles Turner, which is a good thing. If Zach Collins is 2 fouls for early, that means Miles Turner might be on the free throw line a couple times early, Ronis. So,
but I need it.
Yeah, so I do like Charles Bassey a whole lot. 3,800 on DraftKings for the Spurs.
He is the king of the underscore. James Grande from fantasyalarm.com. Give him a follow on Twitter at _real_Grande. And make sure you check out the DFS NBA podcast, which goes up daily from James Grande and John and Pemba on fantasyalarm.com. James, thank you so much as always for tolerating us, and we'll see you next month, okay?
I was actually going to say I'm probably going to take next month off. I'll see you in a couple months.
All right. See you in 2 months. By then, we'll be talking playoff DFS with James Grande.
Yeah.
So everybody take a good look at your screen right now and see this guy here. This will be it for at least the next 50 days. James, thank you so much for stopping by.
I have one quick question for James.
Yes.
There we go.
If you grew up in the dating app era, do you think you'd still be married?
What does that mean?
That if you had access to be on a dating app and had a lot more choices in your fingertips, do you think you'd be married?
Yeah.
I don't believe it, but
There
okay.
you go. There's the answer right there, the flirting question.
He had to say it because his wife is probably listening.
All right, let me follow up. James, were you ever single when dating apps or on
No, he was
dating
20.
were popular?
It was 10 years ago.
20 years. A little before, like a little bit before, like when I transferred to college, and then I met my wife.
Right. Back then, it was just eHarmony dominating the universe at that time. Grande, thank you so much for stopping by. We'll let you go mercilessly. All right.
Thanks, guys. Catch you later.
Wow, James Grande. Yeah, let's see if he joins us again after this interview. You wonder why he joins us every month now, Roan. Gee, I wonder.
It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with you. He's not a big fan of you.
I could tell.
Yeah.
Based on that interview right there.
Mm-hmm.
He's Ronis. I'm Fancy. Let's continue talking about the NBA action leading into tonight's 4-game slate. We'll go over some player props here. Gave some out earlier. Now we'll hit it even harder here on BSN.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by fantasyalarm.com. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by fantasyalarm.com. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
People are always very critical when it comes to fantasy baseball. I would say this, and I'm a big fantasy basketball guy. I love fantasy football. There's no fantasy sport that's even close to being as hard as baseball. The season, having to figure out, especially if you're playing weekly, which I don't like to play. Weekly with the 2 starts, having to look at the schedule and everything. I mean, you play in basketball as well. There's no fantasy sport that's harder or more involved than baseball. It takes forever. You take a whole night to do your fab on Sundays.
Yeah, baseball is the most challenging, and I think that's why the popularity has gone down. People don't want to work. They don't want to put in the time. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. You have to know the player pool. That's why I love doing these 15-team, 50-round drafts. I mean, 750, 800 players. You lower all the minor leaguers. I took Spencer Strider last year in my first draft Champions League in round 40, and that turned out to be a phenomenal pick. So it puts you on to knowing everything about every team. And yeah, it's a lot of work. So I definitely think that it's a challenge, and I just feel people don't want to put in time and work anymore. I'm not saying fantasy football is easy. It's not. But you cannot tell me that fantasy football is more difficult than fantasy baseball. I play both sports. I don't have an allegiance to either one. I love both. I play both. But, fantasy baseball is a grind, man. You got to put in months of preparation. Spring training is important. It helped me get Carlos Rodon a couple years ago. I was not on him until the spring, seeing the velocity and the changes. So there's a lot of things you can discover in the spring. And this is the first real full spring training that we've had in years. Now, there is the WBC that is going to cut into it a little bit, and some guys will not be at camp, but the spring can help you discover. And again, you're talking about, even if you're in a 12-team league, I mean, you're probably going to have 23 to 30 roster spots. And then the 15-team leagues and the mono leagues, I mean, you got to know a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to win a fantasy baseball title. We've seen it, right? You can have like an average player win a fantasy football league. Like, we've all been in leagues where like, yeah, this guy's not that good. He's probably going to win a championship at some point. Things break right. He has a great draft, picks up a player off the waiver wire. That's not happening in fantasy baseball, man. You do not see bad players win fantasy baseball championships. You just don't. It's a 6-month season. You know, you can't afford to take a week or two off from Fab. You can't do it. Last year, say you took off the week where Taylor Ward was the big pickup. You lost a player that was a contributor most of the season. I know we had a couple of down periods, and Taylor Ward was a player I added in multiple leagues, but you can't take that time off. You can't afford to miss out. And, you know, every little detail is important. So I know fantasy baseball is not as popular as it used to be, but I personally feel it's because people don't want to work hard. They just don't. Everyone wants the easy way out now. They want easy access. That's why people don't read anymore. They want a quick video. Fantasy baseball is a lot of work, trust me. But you know what? When you win a championship, it's really gratifying.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
I think we should be talking about the whole team, you know, because we play as a team, we lose, we win as a team. So it's not just about two players, it's about the whole team. So we got to get better as a team, that's it. We still got I think, some things to figure out, especially in the defensive end.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Little shook ones right here. Love this song. Mobb Deep, right, Ron?
Yeah.
Boom. Love that very much. This more Ronis style hip hop right here. This came out in 95? Wasn't this like the song in 95?
Oh, yeah.
Like that? Yeah. No, it was great. I actually didn't know about this song until I saw the movie 8 Mile. You ever see 8 Mile?
Of course.
Yeah. Awesome movie. I think that's an underrated movie, 8 Mile. I think it's excellent. Eminem does a good job. The battles back and forth, which was actually kind of a true story in a way. I believe that's how Eminem got started there. I mean, he was in Detroit. They had rap battles there. I mean, even Biggie back in the early 90s or late 80s, early 90s before he got huge, he was also battling too. So that's right. And yes, AB, to what you're messaging us as well. Yes to that. Let's talk about the NBA heading.
Oh, man, I just did 2 parlays.
Never learned. Never learns. All right, then I guess we might as well start there, Ron. I'll sit back and you go over your 9-leg parlays for the night.
One of them is 9 legs, actually. The risk-free TNT games. So plus 531. Embiid 25 or more. Luka 25 points or more. Kyrie 20 or more. Kyrie 4 assists or more. Harden 6 assists or more. Kawhi Leonard 20 points or more. Klay Thompson 20 points or more. Paul George 20 points or more. Westbrook 6 points or more, plus 531.
6 points or more. Wow. Look at that.
Assist. And then my other same game parlay on Toronto and Washington. Siakam 20 points or more. Pirtle 8 rebounds or more. Van Vliet 6 assists or more. Porzingis over 17.5 points. Beal over 20.5 points. Gary Trent over 13.5 points. That's plus 981.
Wow. Look at you.
And I also bet Gary Trent over 14.5 points at plus 100. This number has gone too low. Even with Gary Trent coming off the bench, we know Toronto tends to play a short rotation. He's going to take shots with that second unit. He played 28 minutes the other night, took 13 shots, and scored 19. So I think this number is low for Gary Trent. He's gone over.
at minus 105 right now, by the way.
I got a plus 100 on FanDuel.
Sweet.
So I like that.
What do you prefer between these two props? Beal over 22.5 or Trent over 14.5?
I kind of like the Trent. I like Beal too. Obviously, I put Beal in my parlay.
Yeah, I'm going to bet definitely the Beal leg. I got just one bet in right now, and that's that game bet that I was telling you about before. Philadelphia +3. Now that it's looking like everything's going to be all set to go with Joel Embiid. I'm feeling Philly tonight, man. You said it about the Mavs, okay? The Mavs just haven't had a lot of success since Kyrie was brought over. And you know Philly, good defensive team, but the most important thing, their centerpiece back in the mix here. And despite the back-to-back, this guy's going to be fresh. You know, I feel like who on the Mavs is going to stop him? No one. No disrespect to Christian Wood, but they're not stopping Joel Embiid. They don't have that kind of muscle to stop Joel Embiid. So I'm feeling very good about the Sixers. Underdogs tonight, +3, seeing that on DraftKings Sportsbook. So Gary Trent is very interesting, Ron. I mean, I don't want to say he's the odd man out of the rotation, so they brought him off the bench, but his ability to be able to run the point and act as that shoot first point guard at times off the bench has been beneficial. So you know what, Ron? I'm investing in your call tonight. The last time I did a Gary Trent prop, Gary Trent, it was, I believe, an 18.5 point prop. He's sitting there at the free throw line with 2 free throws, and he misses both of them at the end of the game. Remember that, Ron? That, for me, that's one of my worst beats of the season, that Gary Trent missing the free throws at the end. You were on it too that night.
Yeah. And the number was higher, though. I think it was 18.5 back then.
It was 18.5. That's what I just said, 18.5. Yeah, I'll never forget that. When he was stuck on 18, he'd say 1 free throw, pulls a Nick Anderson, chokes, misses both of them, ruin the prop. So I'm with you on this. I just think that, like you said, the second units come out there. Washington's second unit, nothing to really write home about with Toronto. And I know we've been saying all year that Toronto, they do play their starters a lot. He's still getting the playing time, though. Anything you like, and I know that James was talking about him before, anything regarding Pirtle tonight?
Yeah, he was in the parlay for 8 rebounds or more. I kind of do like his 11 points or more, but I think I have so much already in that game that I don't know if I'm going to go there. But 11 points, he's gone over to 4 of the last 5. It's a good matchup.
Absolutely.
I went back to his rebounds for the parlay with 8 or more. Remember, I've been playing that rebound prop, and he burned me last game, only 3 against the Bulls, but he's been rebounding really well. So it's probably 8.5, right? I mean, 11.5 points. It's not bad. The rebounds are 8.5. I did 8 or more in the parlay, so I'm hoping he gets there.
I just took his points. I took the over 11.5.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think he'll get there again.
I think Beal's prop is also good, 22.5.
I bet that as well. Yeah, you and I, when we talk a little bit later on, you better be ready to lead because I've got a lot invested in this game right here. I do. I should have just.
Well, so do I. I'm
Right,
going to be sweating a same game parlay. That's +9 something.
Yeah, this is what happens when you have just 4 NBA games on the slate tonight there. I mean, talking about some of the other games, I was mentioning Draymond Green before. I haven't placed that officially just yet. I'm still debating and mulling it over. Might pull an Adam Ronis veteran move and see how my early bets do and then go back to this game, Ron. I think that's where I'm heading when it comes to Clippers Warriors. I think I'm just going to, you're right, with what you said before. The Warriors play a lot better at home. Rick Camel in the Ricky Props segment during the box break that you just saw before was saying how the Clippers are good on the road, but we can't dispute the fact that the Warriors, being as good as they are at home, it's a complete opposite side of the coin when they're on the road. So I think I'm just going to kind of lay off that game when it comes to props and see how my early bets do in those other games here. But a lot of it is really themed on that Washington-Toronto game. I mean, you can look at Pacers Spurs too, but I'm not sure, at least on the San Antonio side, what direction we go, especially when you've got a couple of guys who haven't played in a while just playing, because they can either take a bunch of shots and misses, so it's taking the ball out of others' hands, or you could be like Kevin Durant and even in 27 minutes have a dominant performance. So you got to expect that both these guys, and Jones and Vassell, should be having their minutes watched, being they just came back. So I feel like with that, Ron, I'm actually off. Normally I try to go with the opposition of the Spurs, but tonight I feel like I'm going to be off for the most part, except I'm considering your Miles Turner prop, which was your first play. For me, I'm seeing it at 20.5.
Yeah, I got it at 19.5, but still like it. I would still take it. I think also Jordan Poole over 4.5 assists is a pretty good bet too.
There you go. Jordan Poole there. So of the games here, you've got, what were you saying?
I think Kyrie Irving too, man. Like, let's see. PRAs are 29.5.
I
He's
know.
gone over it in like every game.
Weird.
His assist total too is not bad. 5.5 assists. He's had 9, 5, 6, and 15.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Kyrie. I got to play some Kyrie props tonight too.
In what direction? How do we attack this though?
The assist or the PR or the assist or points and assists probably.
Yeah, I mean, you have his log in front of you right now. I'll get it up. Do you have his? What's his point log?
16 and 9, 21 and 5, 23 and 6, 32 and 15.
Wow. Really just up and down.
But the shots have been 18, 22, 13, 21. I mean, he's going to take a ton of shots. They're kind of desperate here for a win too.
They need it.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely need it. I mean, did you anticipate that when Kyrie Irving came over that they might overall as a team have these struggles? Like, were you a little bit worried about that? I know when we talked, I was worried about all of a sudden my Luka MVP prop going out the window, which, let's face it, between the move and, I mean, Luka's still playing well, but between the move and Jokic's dominance, I feel like that's out the window anyway. But that was really what I was feeling when Kyrie came. Did you think that this team as a whole would struggle like they have been since the acquisition?
I thought they could be a potential adjustment period for sure. As they're trying to get acclimated to each other. They're both used to having the ball in their hands a lot. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah. The other thing with the Mavs too, I mean, and I hate to say this, but even trading away a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith is huge for this team. I mean, they need all the help that they could get in their front court defensively. Reggie Bullock? Come on. Reggie Bullock? Enough with this guy already. I know he can hit some long-range shots, but that's essentially who they're relying on. Him and then Tim Hardaway Jr. off the bench can toggle between the 2 and the 3. But Reggie Bullock at the 4 at times, you can't do that. I mean, this team, if they hit playoffs, this team's going to go nowhere. There's not going to be any special magic, unlike last year with this squad. I just don't see it. Fine, they can put up the offense in the backcourt. Just an unbalanced team here. He's Ronas. I'm Fency. We're going to continue previewing these games, talking props as well. Oh, look, Nikki Durst in the chat. We haven't seen Nikki Durst in a while in the chat here. On the Kane train coming to the Garden tonight. The Rangers, Ronas Bernard's Rangers right here. Anthony Rivera, I hope you're hanging out with us right now. Anthony, I forget, what hockey team do you root for? Are you a Rangers guy as well? Man, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Anthony is there. I thought
Devils.
Oh, you're a Devils guy.
No, even worse.
Anthony, when was the last time you went to a Devils game?
The last time, a couple weeks ago. Actually, my friend has season tickets, so I go with him a lot.
Do they still have that same Jock Jams 90s playlist that they have going on in Prudential?
No, I think they updated it.
They had that for a while, though. It was literally like Jock Jams Volume 1. That was their entire set list there. So I was wondering if they had finally updated it. They were rocking and rolling with that for at least 20 years. So just saying.
Yeah, I feel like most arenas have updated their music. They were all set to like one.
You got to excuse Justin. He hasn't been out much over the last 5 to 6 years.
This guy over here, always a dig. Always a dig.
It's not a dig if it's the truth.
It's not the truth, actually.
Okay, how many sporting events have you been to over the last 5 years?
5 years, I would have to say probably 8 or 9.
Yeah, okay.
You said 5 years, not 3.
Okay, the last 3.
1.
See, there you go.
And I just went to it.
Yeah.
I went to see my American University Eagles, who are, by the way, Patriot League quarterfinals. Let's go. Let's beat that Navy team that's destroyed them. If they could pull that upset, man, I don't know if you know this, Rome, but the winner of the Patriot League, the low mid-majors there in college basketball, the winner of the Patriot League gets an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. My American University Eagles were playing well. All of a sudden, they went on an amazing skid and then were able to bounce back in the first round, now getting ready for the quarterfinals here against Navy. You see my banners in the back right here. American University, known for more the politics and the sports. I'm not about the politics. I'm about the sports. Former broadcaster of that school. So go AU, once an Eagle, always an Eagle right there. And yeah, Bernard, let me ask you something here. Pete, Rangers and Devils PA announcer. Is that Joe Tollison?
Joe Tollison does the Rangers, and then I don't know if you're going to know the guy who does the Devils. His name is Adam Hamway.
No, I do not know him. I do know Joe.
He's an SXM employee.
Okay, yeah, Tollison, I know he runs the soccer channel over there at Sirius XM, but also he does the Rangers as well. Good gigs for him, very convenient. Program director during the day, PA announcer at night. What a life. He's rolling
Sign me up for that right now.
Right. He's Rodas and Fetsy. We got our producers with us as well. Having a lot of fun today with all of you. You know, some days we're going to be more serious. Some days it's going to be all sports and that's it. But that's only going to be some days and very few, because guess what? We're a show. We try to have a good time. We bust each other's chops. Up, correction. Rodas pretty much bust my chops, and then I add in a thing here and there. But we have fun. That's what we're all about here on the Playbook on BSN.
Are you ready? Join the show with one touch of a button. It's Sports Talk 3.0 on Bettor Sports Network.
Washington Commander fans, it's time to rejoice. The day you've been waiting for seems like it's finally on the way. And you know what day I'm talking about. No, not the next time you have a parade down Constitution Avenue. That's still years away. But the day you get to say goodbye to the man who has owned that franchise since 1999. It's Daniel Snyder. You know it well because he's been the worst owner in sports in the 24 years he's owned that football team. That once proud franchise, the Washington Redskins, the Hogs, the championships, Doug Williams, Joe Gibbs. Now what you have left behind? Memories of Albert Hainsworth. How did that work out? Horrible free agent signings, not to mention the scandals. Just this past 18 months alone, the horrible reveal of the Commanders' team name when everybody knew who it was the day before. Oh, that Sean Taylor statue, that gimmick, that joke. How about the touchdown celebration of the mascot, the Tutty? That was horrible. You keep getting in your way, time and time again. The best thing you had for your fan base this offseason was hiring them an offensive coordinator. And now the later scandals, financial misconduct, all these things you got going on. Yet you want Roger Goodell in the NFL to look the other way while you negotiate your sale of the team on your terms. It don't work like that. Only person you really got on your side is Jerry Jones, and it's not going to be enough. So go ahead, Daniel Snyder. Do the right thing. Sell the team, go on about your business. Don't worry about this no more. The fan base deserves better. You've done a lot to tear this situation down. It's just time to walk away. Don't try to negotiate your own terms. Do the right thing and give the Washington, D.C. natives, give the people inside the Capitol Beltway their team back. You can find more contents like this at Bettor Network on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
The biggest thing I want to make sure I bring every night's leadership, my voice, my competitive spirit and nature to the locker room and to the guys. And once I'm on the floor, I'm able to do what I need to do basketball-wise. I trust Ty with everything, whatever it is that he needs me to do, and I'm going to continue doing that. And hopefully we can try to get a win coming up soon.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
Justin Fensterman, Adam Aronis back with you. You just heard from new Clippers guard Russell Westbrook here, getting ready to do battle here. Just missed that point prop that I gave out the other day. Was a little bit frustrated. He didn't take many shots in the first half, then turned it up a notch in the second half, but just missed out on that 15.5. So that was a big L that I took the other night. Hopefully a little bit better. I'm considering, for those that are looking to bet the PRA for the late game, I'm considering he's at 28.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook and doesn't need that many minutes to produce. It's the points that are a little bit concerning for me. We know we'll get the boards, the dimes as well. So we'll have to see what happens there. So I'm not placing it right now. My first play of the day of the couple that I was debating between, because I'm going to be fully transparent with all of you, let you know that I did bet the Sixers +3 against the Mavs tonight. So I'm thinking that that's going to be very good. I've been actually texting back and forth with Rick Kamla, kind of agreed with me about that Clippers line looking a little peculiar there. He's on the -3.5. You hear him on Bettor Sports Live every single Wednesday as well. CSBSN host, we do talk. We text a lot as well. You're one big happy family. And speaking of one big happy family, we're a big happy baseball family as we're getting you ready for the upcoming baseball season with the Bettor Baseball Preview. From fantasy baseball to MLB betting, and the newest baseball cards for 2023. You can access our exclusive content for free right now at bettorsports.com, featuring some of the best baseball minds in the industry like Adam Ronis, my co-host here, Ray Flowers, Kyle Elfrink, and Cody Decker, former player. Get player profiles, prop bets, and future sleepers, busts, fantasy draft strategy, collectibles, and more at no cost. Please register with your name and email at bettorsports.com right now and get instant access plus notifications when new features are released. Go to bettorsports.com and sign up for the Better Baseball Preview. We'll tell you what's coming up on the channel in just a little bit here. But, Roan, anything else while we were just in our box break with our buddy Corey Parson and his executive decisions, any other props or even game lines and spreads that you're looking at? We don't talk a lot of – I don't know what it is, man. I feel like a few years ago, you and I were talking a lot more over-unders. I haven't bet an over-under in a long time. I guess my focus just becomes very – player prop centric, although lately I've been doing well when it comes to predicting the spreads and betting on them. I'm on a little bit of a streak with that. So do you notice that with yourself as well, that you're just not looking at the game totals as much?
I'll look at them, but I focus more on the player props. I think I just feel better about that. But I'll look at some of those lines at times.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that a little bit more because we talk about it. I mean, player prop betting in the NBA is very, very difficult. It's easier at the beginning of the year naturally. I mean, you were crushing it. Halliburton was making you so much cash at the start. Who else was it that was making that you were completely on? I mean, you were on the Claxton blocks and steals forever. Forever. Yeah. Oh, SGA, you were on him. I mean, there were just some players that you just kept going back to the well every single night and winning. Now it's a little bit different here. Now you're seeing some of these teams that are going to start resting their studs potentially for those that are heading towards the lottery. So it's a lot harder to find those trends unless we know for sure that a player is injured. And one example is like when Kristaps Porzingis is out, you know automatically, and this is something that we talked about with John and Pemba. I mean, Denny Avdia gets a little bit more involved. There's some that are direct correlations, but then there are others that are just very hard to predict. And the books, at least on DraftKings, right on the money, man. Like, how many props have we missed in the last week by a half? A half.
Yeah, it happens, unfortunately, man. And we barely missed a Bagley double-double yesterday. He only played 19 minutes, which was the reason why. If he played 23, we get it. Because
they had no reason not to play him, too.
I don't get it. So, tonight, I guess I did those two parlays because I was only going to do one risk-free, and then I put in the wrong game first. I put Raptors Wizards. It's not a TNT game. Whatever. Hopefully it cashes. And then the Sixers Mavericks combined with Clippers Warriors is risk-free on FanDuel. Did the Miles Turner over 19.5 points. Gary Trent over 14.5 points. And, yeah, that's what I have right now. We'll see. If the Raptors Wizards same game parlay hits, then I'll probably jump into Clippers Warriors. I mean, because that's a good game environment. Again, Jordan Poole 4.5 assists. Klay Thompson's PRAs looks pretty good. You know, Kawhi Leonard's points. You know, that's an intriguing game. And second highest total on the night. Pacers Spurs is 1. I will say this too. Let me see. Buddy Hield's points prop becomes interesting if Halliburton's out. It still might be good even if Halliburton plays.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of shots to go around.
And the total's 238. Pacers favored by 6. Let me see if they have any props for Halliburton right now. They didn't earlier. No, actually, yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now.
15.5 points for Hield at minus 135. Yep. I mean, that's going up if Halliburton's out.
Right. By the way, for the Spurs, Malachi Branham is going to play.
Oh, that's why they just froze the Spurs props.
Yeah, he is going to play. They just announced it there a couple.
Yeah, as I was looking, they froze the Spurs props.
For now, Joel Embiid is probable. I'm expecting him to play in this game. I feel like lately, if he's still questionable game time decision, then you've got something here. When I feel like whenever he's probable over at least the last couple of days, if he's probable, then he'll play. If he doesn't play, then that all of a sudden he gets downgraded. That bet on the Sixers, might as well throw that ticket out the window if he doesn't play. I'd be pretty surprised if he sat. You wouldn't be, though, probably.
No, I think he should play. I'm kind of surprised he sat yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't understand why as well. and you go back to that Pistons game for a second. There are some props that we bet that everything lines up and makes sense, but then for some unknown reason, it doesn't work out. The Pistons had no business having Marvin Bagley not on the floor. They needed help. It made no sense. He wasn't in foul trouble. First of all, I thought he should be starting, and I was a little disappointed he wasn't. But Bogdanovich was back, and he had a massive scoring night. So, okay, he comes off the bench a little bit. You can rotate Bogdanovich down to the small forward, and they barely use him. And then Jaden Ivey. So check this out. Ronas and I are texting back and forth. We're talking, and we're thinking, okay, maybe we get overtime. Maybe in overtime, they need more offense. They put Bagley back in at the time. Needed 1 rebound and 1 basket, and that's it. And Jaden Ivey, so there's about 9 seconds to go in the game. And you rarely ever see this happen. Jaden Ivey, the rook, he calls a timeout because, first of all, he shouldn't have called the timeout to begin with because Bogdanovich was able to separate from his defender. You give it to Bogdanovich if you're trying to win the game, and he's scorching hot shooting from the field. That's the first thing. So he got too paranoid about that and called the timeout. But then the bigger problem, they didn't have any timeouts left. Shades of Chris Webber from the Fab Five Michigan days there. And he didn't call the timeout. Casey's on the bench freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. He's got his head down. So what happens, the Bulls with the 2-point lead, they get free throws and they get possession of the ball. And that's how it ended right there, Roan. How pissed were we when that happened? We were begging for overtime last night.
Man. I mean, it was a good bet, man. And I guess maybe we need to consider a little bit more of the minutes risk for Bagley, but it didn't make sense. The guy's been putting up numbers. And I said, he had doubled 4 of the last 5 when playing 25 minutes. Didn't anticipate him playing 19.
No, neither did I. And plus the injuries that Detroit had too, Stewart, Duran, Livers, even with Bogdanovich back in, I was still very confident in this prop, and they just wouldn't bring him back in. And it wasn't like a foul trouble situation. It wasn't an injury or anything like that. So, by the way, something else from yesterday that we could talk about quickly. I don't know if you noticed this while we were talking back and forth here, but Kevin Durant, he actually left the game for a brief period. And he came back to the bench yesterday. Just makes me wonder if Kevin Durant is going to be on this 27 minutes restriction for at least the next couple of games. I mean, he was able to go over his point props. We went over it with Rick Kamla yesterday, and he went over the 20 and a half. But it makes me feel, Ron, I don't know if you feel the same way. I feel like for at least another game, maybe 2, you're not seeing him play 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's possible, man. They got to make sure that he's healthy. So It certainly is possible. Interested to see what his prop will be the next game. They play at Chicago tomorrow. So
we'll have to see.
Maybe 23 and a half, maybe.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about last night here. Join our fantasy football talk shows tonight, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, right after us with the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show, hosted by Eric Balkman, followed by Dynasty Nerds with Garrett Price at 9 p.m. Eastern. From coaching changes to NFL free agency, the scouting combine, and the draft, plus Dynasty League trade talk Thursday nights, our fantasy football nights at bettorsports.com and on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch at Bettor Network. What'd you say?
There's some good-looking coaches in women's college basketball.
Look at that right there, Ronan. What a way to end the show. Good thing you didn't ask James Grande about that one. Then we wouldn't be seeing him for a year.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, we thank our producers, as always, for tolerating us. The Resource AB, Adam Bernard, Anthony Rivera. For Adam Ronas, I'm Justin Fenster. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place, 5 p.m. Eastern. BSN.